Welcome to week 3. I hope that the lessons are getting easier, at least in terms of knowing how to navigate and what's expected of you. I do hope you're setting aside enough time every week to do the lessons successfully. Just a reminder about grades. I usually grade what you submit the week after you've turned it in. So for example, when things are due tonight, I'll begin grading them tomorrow and continue throughout the rest of the week. And the reason for this is pretty simple. Some of the assignments you can actually save as a draft, go back, redo, or submit new versions of it. So it really isn't until after the due date that I know that I have the latest information that you want to submit. Also, as you'll notice on the blog post and on discussion boards, part of the requirement for full credit is to respond to at least 2 of your course mates. And a lot of times students can't do that early on because other people haven't yet posted their blogs or posted their discussion boards. And so they have to come back later to do those responses. And so it wouldn't be fair to me, the grade wouldn't be complete at that time. So just an explanation about how that works. Now let's look at your Unit 3 lessons that are opening today. I do hope that you're taking the time to read the information on the outside of the Unit 3 folder. It discusses the folder's contents and then provides an explanation of the assignments that are due. And you'll notice that in Unit 3, you're going to have week 3, you're going to have 2 lessons and then 1 unit test. And your unit test will not be available until this Friday, and I'll talk more about that in a second. So when we click on the week 3 link, and it will open, or the week 3 tab. Here are your 2 lessons. One is a follow-up lesson to that pre-test that you had last week about common sentence errors. And once again, those common sentence errors are sentence fragments, run-on sentences, and there are 2 forms of those. Usually they're either fused sentences, which are 2 complete thoughts written together, fused together, without any form of punctuation or connection. Or using a comma, and this is called a comma splice, using a comma where you actually need a stronger piece of punctuation. So if you have a comma, you have to also include and, or, but, nor, so, or for, or you can instead use a semicolon, or you can put a period there, or you can use what we call a subordinating adjective like because or since or so forth. So this lesson will actually address those rules and guidelines. Be sure and look at your pretest to see what you missed so that you have some indication of what you really need to focus in on. And then you'll notice when you select the common sentence errors, there's a reading assignment. Okay, then there is a video, a very short YouTube video, although you can find, if you really struggle in this area, you can find a lot of videos on YouTube that actually address these types of errors. And once again, what we're trying to do is draw a distinction between really casual writing or using like sentence fragments or run-on sentences for stylistic techniques, which is something that professional writers certainly do. We're distinguishing between those types of writing and writing in business and writing in college. There's sort of an expectation that at the college level and when you're writing in a business setting that you will write in complete sentences and that they will be correctly punctuated. And so that's the reason we're reviewing these particular guidelines, okay? So once you have done this, done these assignments, then take the sentence error quiz, all right? And it's not a timed quiz, but you do need to, it is a graded quiz. And it is something that I have to grade. The machine doesn't grade it, okay? The system does not. It's not like a multiple choice test. So I have to go back and actually review what you've done. My commitment to you is to try and get those done before Friday, if you will get them in before Friday or whenever it is that you want to take the test, because you need to review them. And by the way, if you're not sure how to review a graded assignment, what you need to do is go to My Grades, and if you'll select that, and then wherever you have a grade here on the right hand side, if you'll click on that grade, it should open up and let you review the responses to the, and what's been marked correct, and then any feedback that's provided. So this is how you can go back and actually look at and review, including your test after you've taken your test and it's been graded. Once again, you go to My Grades, and then you look at the graded area, and you should be able to click on that. It will open up, and you should be able to review your work. So these lessons for this week, I'm going to grade things as quickly as possible so that you can review how you've done and to prepare for the test itself. Okay. So backing back to common sentence errors, we'll go back to the next particular lesson, which is on transitions. And transitions are just those little connecting words, phrases, and sometimes even sentences that draw a bridge between one idea and the next. You're probably familiar with words like first, blah, 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 then, next, finally. Those are called transition words. And what they do is indicate to the reader, okay, here's my first idea. And then after that, here's the next idea. And so it's a signal. Okay, it makes for smooth, effective writing. It really does impact style and readability. So if you'll open this lesson, you'll see there's a PowerPoint that discusses, sort of a brief PowerPoint that talks about transitions. There's a YouTube video that also, it's pretty short, that discusses transitions as well. And then there's an exercise. And the system will grade this exercise, but I have to tell you, because there's more than one right answer, sometimes the system does not mark it correctly. So I don't want you to panic if you finish, because please be aware, I'm going to go back and review the scores and make sure that they are accurate. Okay. Finally, let's talk about your test. So we're going to back to the week 3 folder, where it talks about your test. Okay. It will be over everything that you've done so far this semester. There will be some typing involved. Now, a lot of it's multiple choice, so that will not take you as long, I don't think, except for just sort of thinking through the answers. But then there are a couple of parts that have to do with typing, like short answers, or there's a section that has to do with adding concrete detail and description to a particular paragraph. Please do not get bogged down on any one answer. My recommendation to you, because you're able to move back and forth through the test, if you want to kind of scan through it first and then go to the part that requires perhaps the most typing for you and go ahead and get that out of the way. Now, this is just a suggestion, but rather notice that you don't have to do it in order. Also, if you get stuck on a question, my recommendation is, especially a 1-point question, something that's not that significant, or 2 points, skip it and come back to it. Okay. Please be sure, do not submit the test before you're finished, and make sure that you are taking the test using Blackboard. Sorry, of course you're going to be using Blackboard, but make sure that you're working, the weather's good, there's not going to be a power outage, you're working from a reliable computer, and you're using Google Chrome or Firefox, which are the 2 supported browsers for Blackboard. It's not that other browsers will not work, but those 2 are supported and are, you're pretty much guaranteed to have an easier time filling in the blanks and all of those kinds of things. Some students have reported trouble when they've tried to use something else and the cursor jumps around and those kinds of things. I cannot reset tests, all right, because unfortunately you've already seen it, so I can't go back again and start it for you. So please, please, please make sure that when you begin to work on your test, you're ready, you have your materials ready, and you're working from a reliable computer. Now, the test will open at 8 o'clock Friday morning of this week, and it will remain open until next Monday night at 11:59. I don't recommend that you wait at the last minute. The test you have an hour and a half to take it. It is a time test. So once you start, you have to begin. You can't come back to it. But you may use your books, if you can, kind of open those, the textbook, someplace and refer to it. You may use any materials that we've used throughout the course, any notes that you've taken. What you can't do is use any other outside help or try and type information in on the internet to get answers. I'm trying to test for what you know. okay? But I don't mind if you use notes and some of the other things that we've, like the PowerPoints that I've provided this semester, okay? And I hope it goes without saying, if you miss the due date, you cannot make up a test. Once it's done, the due date passes, which is next Monday night, it's done, okay? So good luck. Please communicate with me if you have any kind of questions, and I hope you have a good week.